Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel Easy Approach to Bio. Guys, in the previous video I have discussed about the overview of the cell. I hope you have seen that video. If you haven't seen that video, please go through that video once. So in the today's video lecture, I am going to discuss about the plasma membrane, its basic structure, that how plasma membrane looks like, and why we require plasma membrane. So first of all, you should know that what is plasma membrane. It is the outermost covering of the cell which is present in the outside, or we can say which separate the cytoplasm of the cell from the external environment. Here you can see in the image that this is the basic structure of the plasma membrane, which made up of lipids. These ball-like structure are lipids, and proteins. They are embedded proteins, or certain peripheral or intrinsic proteins are there, and then the sugar moieties, we call it as a carbohydrate. So if we talk about the introduction part, so first of all, you should know that plasma membrane, it is a dynamic fluid structure, and it form the external boundary of the cell. It is basically, plasma membrane prevent the cell from the external environment, right? If we talk about any organelle, or we talk about any cell, then the composition of the plasma membrane in all the organelles, or we can say in all the cells, is same. Plasma membrane is made up of three components only, that is the your lipid, protein and carbohydrates. These three components form the whole plasma membrane. Okay? And the composition of lipid and protein give plasma membrane a permeability. So if we talk about various synonymous, or we can say various names of the plasma membrane, are cell membrane, biomembrane and the living membrane. So don't confuse with these names, they are one and the same thing. And the most accepted model for the plasma membrane, which was given by Singer and Nicholson, that is the fluid mosaic model. So always remember that the fluid mosaic model is the most accepted model of the plasma membrane, right? So this is the structure of the plasma membrane. The plasma membrane looks like this, okay? And if you can see these red part, this this is the lipid. You can see this is lipid bilayer. One layer is there and other is here. So these are the two layers of the lipid. That's why we call it as a lipid bilayer. So first of all, you should remember that plasma membrane is formed of two layers of the lipid. That's why we call it as a lipid bilayer, right? Now if we talk about the components, that what are the components there in the plasma membrane, these are lipids, proteins and carbohydrates. So in the maximum concentration, lipids are there. So lipids are present in maximum concentration. After that, proteins are present, and then the carbohydrates. Always remember that carbohydrates are not present in the free form in the plasma membrane. They are always bound to either protein or a lipid. So if carbohydrate are bound to protein, then we call it as a glycoprotein. Okay, this is the glycoprotein. Why it is glycoprotein? Because you can see this is the protein is there, and here the carbohydrates are what? Carbohydrates are the sugar moieties. So carbohydrates are bounded to the this protein. That's why we call it as a glycoprotein. And if carbohydrate are bound to lipid, then we call it as a glycolipid, right? So this is the basic structure of the your lipid bilayer, and components of the lipid bilayer are lipids, carbohydrates and proteins. So lipids there are various kinds of lipids are present, like glycolipid, okay, sphingolipid, sterols are there. And if I talk about the proteins, then there are two types of proteins are there, that is extrinsic proteins and intrinsic proteins. Third type is also there, which we called lipid linked protein, but on a majority basis we will discuss about the two types of the protein, that is extrinsic protein and the intrinsic protein. So the extrinsic protein are also called the peripheral protein. That is, extrinsic protein are those proteins which are present on the periphery. It can be present on the cytosolic side also, it can be present on the non-cytosolic side also. So here you can see this is the cytosolic portion. Just you can see here this portion is a cytosolic portion, this whole portion is a cytosolic portion, and this is the non-cytosolic portion, right? So the protein which are present there and the protein which are present there, they are the peripheral protein, because they are not embedded, they are present on the periphery. That's why we call it as a peripheral protein or extrinsic protein. And the protein which are embedded in the plasma membrane, you can see the protein, this is the protein which is embedded in the plasma membrane. This whole protein is embedded in the plasma membrane. That's why we call it as an integral protein. So this is the integral protein, this is the peripheral protein. And after that there are lipid linked protein, but on the majority basis we discuss about these two proteins, right? And if I after that carbohydrates, I have already told you carbohydrate present in the glycoprotein form or glycolipid form, and the composition of carbohydrate are only 5 to 10%. After that, this I have already discussed, that proteins are present in the lipid, and the composition of the protein were lipid, proteins, and the carbohydrates. So this is the fluid mosaic model which was given by Singer and Nicholson, and in this model they have discussed about the bilayer structure of the plasma membrane. Here you can see in the diagram why we call bilayer, because the lipids are present in two layer forms. That's why this is the one layer, and here from there second layer is there, right? So this is the basic structure of the, this was the basic structure of the plasma membrane. After that, if we talk about the functions that what plasma membrane performs, so so first of all, the function that it protect layers, right? It protect the membrane so that various kind of ions cannot pass through the membrane, and it's selectively permeable. It only allows certain kinds of proteins or certain kinds of ions to pass through the membrane. It helps in the transport. It contains specific receptors so that certain kind of signaling can take place easily. And it also helps in cell adhesion molecules. That is, cell adhesion molecules are there so that it helps in connecting one cell to the another, so that they can form tissue, and then tissue can form an organ, and then organ system, and it form various cell junction so that the various kinds of proteins can pass from one cell to the next. So this was all about the plasma membrane. I hope that the lecture was useful, and please don't forget to share, subscribe my channel. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much.